Confidence comes from being rooted in your craft, which is what sustains you as an actor or a musician or a journalist or anything in any industry. You should be really good at your job and excel everyone's expectations. And I think that I've seen that in the both of you.
You recently started to paint more.
They are amazing.
In lockdown, I picked up a paintbrush. And then once I started painting, I could not stop.
Welcome to the final episode of the Global Indian Creatives podcast.
We started these interviews to document the legacy of those who continue to make a difference in the creative world in the UK, India and beyond for a publication. But with the remarkable rise of podcasts and the reach of social media, we decided to launch a podcast first so that you could hear these incredible stories from the people firsthand. Their voices, their emotions, their candid conversations directly to you.
Our initiative has been to highlight the stories of the Indian diaspora and bridge the creative spectrum between UK and India. And by sharing these journeys, we hope the next generation of creatives will feel empowered to pursue their interests in creative fields as a possible path.
The advice, different roadmaps, and hope can inspire anyone with a dream. Together, Rakesh and I have edited the episodes, thoughtfully created the social media content to accompany each episode, and considered each word that we have said and written, including this.
We are so grateful to have been shortlisted for Best Podcast since launching. In this final episode, we hear from actor Nitin Ganatra OBE, who you may know as Masood from Eastenders, Mr. Kohli in Bride and Prejudice, and Prince Pondicherry in the Tim Burton film Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Nitin's career spans TV, film and theatre, winning Best Onscreen Partnership alongside Nina Wadia at the 2009 British Soap Awards and awarded an OBE in 2022. In this episode, Nitin shares insights into his experience of the acting world, how art has shaped his life from childhood to picking up a paintbrush again for a new creative chapter. We recorded this in 2024, in which time he has held art exhibitions. Here is his story from TV, theatre and film to the world of art.
So let's begin with how it all started for you. What got you into acting?
Well, originally all I ever did was paint, right? As a kid, all I ever did was paint. And I was little, and I was fat, and I was scared, and I had no confidence. And then a school teacher said to me, come and audition for a school play. And I did the school play, and it was fun. And then the next year she said, I want you to audition for this other part. And it was a bigger part. And I auditioned for it, and it was in the 80s. So the 80s were very political. And although I went to a very, very rough school, it was also very, very political. So it was anti-Thatcher. It was an anti-Thatcher play. And I remember I had this solo piece. I had a big monologue and a song. And, you know, when you're young, you don't kind of sit there and go, I can't act and I can't sing. You should kind of do it. You're a bit more fearless that way. But I just remember a profound moment on stage where I kind of looked at 250 people and I had a kind of an out-of-body experience where I thought, they're all waiting to hear what I have to say. And it was like that. It was that silence. It was that kind of silence and stillness that suddenly kind of began to grow in me, where they just waited. And I started the speech and it started to flow. And then I sang this song. And this was the first night. And I got a standing ovation at the end of it. And I remember realizing that I felt more alive on stage than I did in real life. In real life, I'm socially inadequate. I'm not very good socially. I'm a bit of a goof. I don't know what to say, don't know when to say it. I don't know what's appropriate, what's not. I'm really socially inept. But when I was on stage, I really blossomed. I really flowed. And you know that, Rakesh, when you're playing, you suddenly stop thinking, you start being, and you must know when you're just doing your work and you're speaking and you didn't realize you've spoken for that full 4 minutes in such an articulate way, because you find a flow in anything you do. So that happened to me when I was about 15, 16 years old. And so that was the turning point. That's when I knew, right, okay, I found something where I can be more myself and learn more about myself and maybe blossom. And that's when I decided to become an actor.
That's amazing. And you talk about being in the moment, which is really interesting because your career has diversified so much since that first school play. You've gone on to do Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Bride and Prejudice, and more notably, you're known for your work in EastEnders, which for over a decade, you had such a profound impact on our screens. With your career spanning, TV, stage, cinema, most people think that they need to stick to one particular thing now and make it in that field. What are your thoughts on that?
There's two thoughts. One is, well, people like De Niro have never done stage shows, really. They preferred film. So it's about a preference. If you prefer doing film over TV or TV over theatre, that's fine. That's your choice. But for me, as an actor, I wanted to do everything. I don't just want to do film, and I don't just want to do theatre. Kind of want to do everything. I want to do radio plays. I want to do audiobooks. I want to do animation voices, because they're all part of performance. They're all part of your skill set. So for me, the more different things I do, the more I'm interested in the craft. And on top of that, genres. It's not just technical. It's not just theatre, film, or TV, or radio plays. It's also comedy. I'm one of the lucky people that can go from gritty drama to really big comedy, like broad comedy and subtle comedy. And so I can swing between lots of different styles of acting as well. So I can go on stage and be a mime artist because I studied mime. I studied dance. I've studied martial arts. I've lived in different countries, which all nourishes you. So I'm not just an Indian actor. I'm not just an Asian. I'm not just an Asian in real life because, I've done Brazilian martial arts and I've done samba with Brazilians. I've sung with Italian folk singers. My mind is so much broader than just being an Asian bloke or an Asian actor. So unfortunately, I don't get to show any of that because I'm an Asian actor. So that's what I get asked to do, is play an Asian. But the other point is to choose between genres is also, I think, a wise thing. Being an Asian actor in a white mainstream industry, I think we have to be multi-skilled. We have to be we have to be able to do everything, really, and we have to do everything better as well. So it's a great asset to have, to be able to go into, let's say, an audiobook where you have to do 4 different voices. And they'll say, can you do Irish? Can you do that in an Irish voice? Can you do that in the Welsh voice? And then can you do your Indian? So it's just so much more exciting and challenging. But as an Asian actor, I think because we're a minority group, we just have to have more skills. And also, I get bored doing one thing for too long. It's that simple.
You've obviously spoken there about diversity of genre, diversity in terms of the acting that you've done with TV, movies, podcasts. What do you think has been the most challenging? Has there been an area that you thought, actually, now that I reflect, that industry or that part of acting was really difficult to break doors down in, and this is how I overcame that challenge to break into it?
I think the system used to be that you trained, you did your push-ups and did your training in the theatre, and then After theatre, you went to television. After television, you went to films. And that used to be the kind of career ladder for a lot of people. And theatre was always your basis, the foundation from which to build up. Obviously, now it's changed because we have so many streaming channels. Actually, it changed it changed when film actors started doing adverts. When suddenly it kind of broke the whole snobbery or system of, if you're a TV actor, you're not as good as a film actor. And if you're doing, if you're doing a soap, you're not as good as, a Netflix series. There's all these weird hierarchies going on. I was lucky enough to have an easy transition. Because I'm somebody that wants to do it all, I transitioned from theatre to TV and film quite easily. I think I did film before I did television. So for me, I've moved in between them quite easily. But there are all these little industry stock sayings. Somebody said to me, and I don't know if this is relevant anymore, but as a younger actor, somebody said to me, if you want to be a great actor, you do theatre. If you want to be a famous actor, you do film. If you want to be a rich actor, do TV. And actually, I kind of, that at the time, it made sense to me because doing film didn't pay much. I've done low budget films. And theatre doesn't pay anything, but it really tests your muscles as an actor. And if you can handle theatre, if you can handle live performance, then you pretty much can handle everything, especially when things go wrong on stage. But that expression was kind of said a long time ago. But that's the first time I've remembered it in many, many years. But yeah, I kind of had a point at the time.
So that basically means you're really good, you're rich, and you're famous.
Well, one day, all of them meet at the same time. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not there yet. It'd be nice. But I've survived. The main thing for me is surviving as an actor. It's 2024, so I've just dated this video for you, and this conversation, but it'll probably be 30 years this year that I've been a professional actor. I did a show called Do You Eat With Your Fingers at Stratford East Theatre Royal, which it was the big Asian sketch show before Goodness Gracious Me, and it was a sellout show. And that was 1994. Nina Wadia was in it, Shobna Gulati was in it, Zita Sattar was in it, Paul Baldock Sharma. Well, we were all young, but for me, I just want to keep working. And it's really a marathon. It's not a sprint. So I've had a really good, steady career over 30 years, and I've survived it. And I think if you can, that would be my aim. That would be my aim, is just keep working as an actor.
Incredibly modest there. You've more than survived. You've thrived year by year. And actually, I remember, when we sat down for coffee, maybe it was a few years back, you and Neil and I, and we came up to you saying, we've got this crazy idea. We want to interview all the best creators who've done so much to build bridges between UK and India, and have made British Indians feel so proud. And I remember you actually saying to us how you really, as you mentioned there, how theatre has really helped hone your craft, and you are so good at what you do that your talent shines itself. And what would be really interesting to actually learn from you is, where do you see the landscape for emerging creatives in the future? And what more do you think collectively can be done to encourage a new wave of talent to pursue creative fields?
New creatives, I think we're doing quite well at the moment. I think if you're young and you're brown, you have a lot more opportunities going on at the moment. I think we disappeared for a long time. And there's a generation of actors that see the golden years as around about 95 to 2000 was so creative. We had Tara Arts Tamasha Theatre Company, we had the Waterman's Art Centre, we had Talvin Singh, we had the State of Bengal. You know, we used to go to these clubs where people, Asian, it wasn't Bhangra, it was people were creating incredible bits of music. Theatre was vibrant, TV was vibrant, film was vibrant. We had Baji on the Beach, we had Bride and Prejudice, Bend It Like Beckham. So much was going on for about 5-6 years, and then it took maybe it coincided with 9/11, where the industry just couldn't work out who brown people were as individuals. They just saw brown people as terrorists after a while. So the work dried up for a lot of us. And right now there is a kind of a blossoming of new young talent, which I want to be part of. I don't feel old yet. I'm seeing, Dev Patel, Himesh Patel, I'm seeing more and more younger Asian actors and directors and writers and musicians doing stuff, and with a different kind of attitude as well, because this new generation that don't have the same hang-ups as I did. I'm an immigrant, and so I spent a lot of my childhood trying to figure out who I was and how to fit in, and if I have to go up for this part of a doctor, why does he have to have an Indian accent? Why can't he have a northern accent? Why does he have to have, all these confusing things? Now we've got a new generation of creatives that are telling the stories that they want to tell, and they don't have to involve an Indian accent, and they don't have to involve the same story of having a cultural conflict with their father and mother because they're dating a black guy or a white guy or a lesbian story. It's just so much more open now. And that's going to bring out some new creatives, I think. Now, what I would suggest, if I was to give some advice, is just be really good at your craft. You've just got to be good. You're in a very competitive marketplace, and fortunately for me, I had really tough teachers, and I trained in Italy as an actor. I read a book that changed my life, and I read a book by a theatre director called Grotowski, Jerzy Grotowski, and I read that, and it inspired me to hitchhike to Italy, find him, and go, I need you to teach me. And I find my first guru, and he was the last of the big masters in theatre. And I got trained by him, and it wasn't easy. It was painful. It was hard, but it was a craft, and with anyone, especially brand creatives, I just think you've got to really hone your skills. Don't be average, really shine, and be able to handle yourself. And I've been in that situation where I thought, God, how lucky am I? Because I have the confidence I only have confidence because I've trained hard. I don't have confidence because I think I'm good. There's a difference. That's, whether you're reporting in a war zone, or if you're playing a concert where you're in front of 50,000 people, it's your craft that carries you through. It's your experience and your skill set that carry you through. You might be panicking inside, but you've got your craft to rely on. And so I was lucky enough where I would be in a situation where I was sitting next to Om Puri. I worked with him twice in 1 year, and we were doing a thing called The Sea Captain's Wife. Myself, Om, and Indira Verma. And Indira was playing a character who's married to Om, but I was having a love affair with him. And Om and I were sitting there, because I used to smoke, and he was always like, why do you get to kiss Indira? And I was like, all right. well, that's not the point here. But we were having a cigarette at the time, and I remembered that when I was 12 years old, I went to see Dickie Attenborough's Gandhi film. And this is the first time my entire family had been in an English cinema together. Still brought the samosas, still brought all the deep fried food into English cinema. And those were the days where people were smoking at one side of the theatre. And we watched the film Gandhi. And I remember a scene right at the end of the film when Gandhi's on the rooftop and he's fasting, and Nehru's going, "Come on, eat, you old fool!" And everybody's dropped their weapons, and he goes, "Here, have some food now. It's peace time now." And somebody runs through the crowd and pushes everyone aside, and he's got a piece of bread and he throws it at Gandhi and he says, "Eat. I killed a kid. They killed my son. I killed a Muslim boy. I cut his head off." And this guy had this short speech, a monologue. And I remember at 12 years old suddenly going, "What's that? Who is this guy? He's on fire." His eyes were ablaze. And I was just like, what? It just gave me goosebumps, even remembering it now, that performance. And it was on Puri. And then you sit there and you have a cigarette and go, "Oh, that's how crazy your life can be." That you can, but we're equal status. Even though I'm like going, "Oh my God, it's all Puri," and I work with, lots of my heroes. I worked with Richard Gere, I worked with Johnny Depp. The only time I've ever got nervous was I worked with Donald Sutherland, and strangely, that was the only time I got nervous. The rest of the time, though, I'm here as a professional actor. I'm hired to do a job. I know my skill set. I know my craft. So there's nothing to fear. And if you get a good conversation, then you get a good conversation. You just hope your heroes are never a disappointment. Sometimes you work with someone and you go, "Oh my God, you're not as nice as I'd hoped you'd be." But most of the time, people have been great. But like I said, to reiterate, the confidence comes from being rooted in your craft, which is what sustains you as an actor or a musician or a journalist or anything in any industry. Be good at what you do. Know your shit.
One of the things there that you've touched on is working with different people and your paths crossing with different actors. And obviously you mentioned that cohort that you're part of with Nina, and you've got your Miras and Sanjeev. Do you think that being part of that cohort was helpful? And how important do you think collaboration is with creativity?
And again, I'm being really transparent. Back in the day, there were a lot of Asian actors and creatives, but there just wasn't enough work. So you'd get 20 people, 20 guys competing for one part, which was probably about 3 lines in Casualty. And you'd all be competing. And obviously it's a competitive industry, which can also, it can bring out a lot of camaraderie, but it also can bring out a lot of jealousies. So we were all competing for work. So it wasn't an easy time. It wasn't easy to get a job. And the grass is always greener somewhere else. You always want to be doing what that other person's doing. Why can't I be there? But I don't think that's exclusive to being a brown-skinned actor. I think that's the way this industry works. You see somebody doing that and go, "Why didn't I get that part?" But there was people were generally supportive. Goodness Gracious Me happened, and the Waterman's Art Centre were doing their thing. Tara Arts were doing their thing. Everybody had their group. I didn't have a group, really. I kind of, if everyone was working, that means I'd pick up all the rest of the work by myself. I was kind of always drifting. I didn't quite fit into any group, but everyone was busy, though. Everyone was channeling themselves into their work. So that was the first half of your question. Was it productive being around those cohorts? We all partied hard, and that was kind of good. When we got together, I remember there was a Guinness advert once, and everybody went in. They wanted a yogi. they wanted somebody who could do yoga and drink Guinness, and you had to do lotus position in a headstand. And so there were like 10 of us, 10 Asian actors going, yeah, I can do lotus. I'm brown, isn't it? And we all went in one by one and came out slightly red-faced because everyone just lied and just said, yeah, of course, it's in our genes, it's in our DNA to be flexible just because we're Asian. And but we all got drunk before we went into the audition. And I just remember trying to get into a headstand and passing wind, and just kind of got up and went, sorry, big bud, we've got to go. So we had some fun times, but it was very competitive. And, you just had to laugh your way through it. A lot of people got bitter because of the situation of diversity and not getting equal opportunities. And it just becomes very poisonous when you start becoming bitter and you get a chip on your shoulder about it. But anyway, there was a second part of that question, which was...
how important do you think collaboration is?
Right. Well, I think collaboration, I think we have to support each other. I think collaboration between artists, especially brown artists, I think we have such a new generation of brown creatives. For me, it's refreshing if I can be part of a project that doesn't involve the same tropes that we've been playing on for years and years and years. I remember having a conversation with a Jewish comedian, and we got into deconstructing comedy. And I did ask the question in a room where I said, are we funny without an Indian accent? Do we have anything else to talk about other than those things, those tropes that we've been playing out for years about fitting into society and, I can't go out with this type of person and, all these things. I'm sure they continue culturally, but do we as storytellers have anything else to talk about that's funny? And it's a difficult one, but I think we're getting there. I think we're getting more interesting stories now. And collaboration, you can't be in this industry without collaborating. You can't be a soloist. And if you are going to collaborate with the best. You pick the best people to work with who are the most passionate about storytelling, because that way you're gonna do some good work.
Yeah. So I think that's really interesting as well, what you said about collaboration. And one thing that keeps sticking out is that you have to be excellent, if not the best at what you do. And in order to do that, I also think that just as you have done, you've been quite innovative as well. So on the note of innovation, you've recently started to paint more recently. And what I really wanted to understand was more about your creative process when it comes to painting and how you manage this transition. But it's not a transition because, as you said right at the beginning of this call, it's something which you've started off with. So now that you've come back to it, how does it feel?
Well, it's like falling in love again. If you've not fallen in love in your life, I hope you do. And all I ever did was paint. And the problem was, when I wanted to be a professional artist, it was a white, elitist, classist world. You had to go, it's all about the dib or wherever you trained, which art school did you go to? And I was kind of like, well, I don't just see Indian heritage. Like I said, my mind goes to Portugal or Brazil or all these other cultures, Chinese cultures. I'm influenced by so many different things. I'm a lot more eclectic than just Indian, although I'm very proud of my heritage. I stopped because I didn't have the courage to become a professional artist, and I didn't think I would make it because if the doors were closed in the entertainment industry, the doors were sealed shut with, they were tightly. You needed golden lock picking gloves in order to be able to break into the art world. So I stopped. And I went into acting instead, which is ultimately still creative because I've learned so many other things, whether it be training in a vineyard in Italy, learning to speak Italian because I've got to have to understand what's going on. I've got to learn Italian very quickly, and I learned by listening. So even in living my life, I was tuning into stuff. And I think this boils down to being an artist in general, a creative person in general. I don't have an off button. I just keep my eyes and ears are open to everything, whether it will be, a melody that I hear somebody singing to their child upstairs, or I see color differently. It's a creative brain that keeps wanting, it never switches off. And that seems to be my most authentic place. Now, what happened was I stopped painting and I fell out of love with painting for about 20 years. And then in lockdown, I picked up a paintbrush. And then once I started painting, I could not stop. I mean, literally, I was just doing a painting. And then as soon as that's finished, there's another thing that's welling up inside me. And the creative process took a new level for me. And it's like these things started speaking through me again. And having looked at my portfolio of paintings before I stopped, I did a lot. My output was a lot. And I've gone back to that. But this time there's a different feeling, which is because I'm not trying to impress anyone, because I'm not trying to break into an industry, I just started putting out posts going, I've just painted this picture. And the feedback I got was incredible. And I was really embarrassed and shocked by people going, this is really good, I'd buy this. And I was like, really?
They are amazing. When I saw you putting them out, I was like, this is amazing. I had no idea.
I don't, maybe I'm not that confident, maybe I just kind of painted, and then I painted what I felt. I painted for myself, and these stories and these images start to bubble up. And but again, the support has been so good that it's the general public and people like yourself being supportive of it have kind of pointed me into this direction, saying, do more. We love what you're doing. Do more. One of those things that I was just saying to you two, and how I've seen both of you grow in your careers from the first time I met you. It doesn't feel that long ago, but without sounding patronizing, when we first met, you were children. In my eyes, this is young people wanting to do something. And just in this short span of time, I've seen you both grow, like 100 times over. And I was like, wow, okay, you guys are pushing for something, and you're pushing yourself beyond your expectations and the expectations that are demanded on you. So again, this is an entrepreneurial thing. This is a creative drive, or this is a sense of ambition, which means you're not going to do what's just expected of you. You're going to do more than what's expected of you. And I made a joke recently on set. I was doing something for ITVX, and I said, I'm one of those people that has lived a life where very little has been expected of me. We need a brown actor to tick the quota, fill the quota, tick the box. And we've got him, he's cheap, he'll do. And then you say a few lines. Given that I am a creative, given that I am interested in what I do, my 2-line delivery often makes people go, well, he was better than we expected. And I kind of go, yeah, you kind of just hired us because we're brown, but you didn't expect us to be good. That's just a bonus. And I realized that I've been in a lot of situations where and my career's grown. I was just doing the part that they didn't expect much. They didn't expect much of me, but I excelled in what I do because that's what I believe in myself. That's nothing to do with being Asian. It's just, I believe you should be really good at your job and excel everyone's expectations. And I think that I've seen that in the both of you. I've seen you transform just in a couple of years. It's not that long. So congratulations to you both for that.
That's very kind.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Nitin, what drove you?
Anger. I've figured it out now. It's taken a long time to get to this point without having to spend loads of money on therapy. You know, as a kid, I was told I was stupid. I was not going to achieve anything in my life. At school, I was told the same thing. And I remember even for my A-levels, I was told, you're not going to get to university. You're not clever enough to get to university. So I would just go and get an apprenticeship in something. And I was so angry. I mean, so angry I could cry, even saying it. And there's two ways you can go. You can prove everybody right, or you can prove everybody wrong. And I thought, I'm going to be better than you think I am. And I passed my A-levels, and I got the highest grades in the whole school. And I was one of 2 kids from my school to get to university that year.
That's amazing.
As far as I remember. Now, I'm a lot older now. My brain doesn't work. But I remember, people being shocked that I got all my A-levels and gone to, Oxford and Cambridge at the time didn't do drama. And so Bristol and Hull were the 2 big places to go. And I got into Bristol. And, over thousands of applicants for 25 places in those days. There's only 25 places to do drama and film and TV. And I got it. And I worked alongside Simon Pegg, David Williams, Mark Ravenhill, Dave Nichols, who's got this, Dave Nichols wrote, is it One Day that everyone's raving about on Netflix?
Yeah.
Dave was a year above me, a couple of years above me. Of course, now I'm, get to Bristol University and I'm a working class kid from Coventry, from a corner shop, from a beaten down comprehensive school. Now I'm in the drama department of Bristol, which is an elite level department full of privileged people, all privately educated. So I've got another complex, not only my color of my skin, there's a class conflict now. And people would joke about, oh God, Asians in corner shops. And I go, I'm from a corner shop. And they'd go, oh God, are you serious? And I felt very inadequate at university. But then again, driven by anger, I'm like, right, I'll prove you all wrong. I'll prove you wrong. I will prove you wrong every time. I will be better than you ever expected me to be. Now I recognize that because I'm not as angry anymore. I don't have that anger in me because I've been doing it a long time. And if you can survive an industry, because it's an industry, the creative industry in any field, I think, is incredibly demanding on your ego. Your ego takes a battering on a regular basis. And you suffer from rejection, you suffer from competition. I compete with tall, handsome, chiseled, six-pack guys. And I'm kind of like, well, what am I going to do? I can't compete with that because if it's a shallow industry, as we know, the film and television industry and the arts industries are already heightened now by social media and the demands that social media makes on Instagram and to keep posting you looking at your best. And your social media persona has to be gorgeous and constantly pushing to say, how much am I doing? Look at what I'm doing. And yes, it's a business tool. I get that. But at the same time, you have to keep reminding yourself, why did you start this? What did you do this for? Why are you driven to go into an industry that can treat you like a narcissistic lover? They can use you, it can ignore you, it can give you breadcrumbs when it feels like it. And sometimes it gives you so much attention, you think you're the center of the universe. It's a very odd, tough industry to be in. But if you're compelled to do it because you have mind and soul, you have to go can I do anything else? And I can't. I have to remain in the creative industry. And hence, when the art came back to me, it's like I'm in the garden of creativity now. I'm not just painting. I'm in a whole garden of stories that just keep popping up in me, and I have to keep painting. I walk around with a sketchbook again that I used to do when I was a kid, and I have to keep sketching, and I have to keep recording stuff because I need to draw it. I need to paint it. Like I said, I'm flattered by people's response and encouragement that somewhere in the back of my mind, once I get past the imposter syndrome, which I have done with acting, I had very bad imposter syndrome, like someone somewhere is going to figure out that I'm not really an actor. I don't know what I'm doing. Again, that's insecurity. But with art, I really believe I'm going back to something that I wanted even more, which was to be somebody who paints and sells their work and people buy it and love it. If people love what I'm doing, then, and people have said that, they feel something, because I don't paint pretty pictures. I don't paint stuff that's commercially, that you could just put in the background. I paint art. I make paintings, works of art that tell a story and hopefully evoke a feeling in the viewer. And that's the feedback I get.
The paintings are full of emotion.
It resonates with people. So you mentioned this imposter syndrome, and the point that becomes irrelevant when whatever you produce as an artist, once people resonate with it, that's the ultimate aim. It evokes a feeling within them. And everything that I've seen you produce so far has smashed it out of the park. And every new painting is something which shows a different side to you, your artistic expression, and it's getting so much feedback. As you say, it doesn't matter how classically trained a person is in their field. If it doesn't resonate, then it's almost useless. Your work just resonates with masses, I think, because it has feeling in there and people see that feeling.
Can't pin it down to anything, but technically I'm not the best, but technique alone is just mathematics. Then it doesn't really evoke any heart, and so kind of really found myself again. I mean, it is, like I said before, it sounds really cheesy, but it's like falling in love again. And maybe I've just, now I've stopped being so angry, and I'm not driven by anger now, and I'm driven by love. Really, maybe I love myself a little bit more kindly now. And being kinder to myself has just made me blossom in a new field altogether, where I feel safe. I feel, when you're singing and nobody's watching, that's the feeling. You're not singing for anyone. You're just singing because the feeling bubbles up. And that's a good, healthy place to be.
What it sounds like through this entire chat is that things have got better. In every sense of your journey, it seems like everything you feel has improved in terms of the competitiveness, the collaboration, the breaking down doors in yourself, your personal self, and feeling more confident, the love that you've got, the kindness you're showing yourself. So it seems like you're coming round to this new place.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough world to live in. And it's a tough industry to try and work in. If you're remotely sensitive and fragile in a creative industry that requires you to be tougher, but still remain in tune with yourself, it's a big juggling act. And for young people coming through wanting to be a musician or be a journalist or be an actor, I would say, don't forget this feeling of joy that you started with. That feeling of like, this is an amazing feeling because I'm now in touch with myself in a different way. I'm really aligned. And that's the thing that you have to remember. Even for me, 30 years on in this industry, I don't get the same parts anymore. And I'm really enjoying doing small parts in lots and lots of different things because there's no pressure on me. And I go, right, well, I'm not chasing you anymore. So you can come and chase me and I'll enjoy the moment a lot more than just chase. And I think lockdown did that. to me. I think lockdown just stopped a lot of people from chasing so hard. But for everyone, I think if you're going to go into an industry that's going to make these demands on you, always remain in the area of loving yourself. Do it for love. Be a business person about it, of course. But yeah, I've moved from anger to love. So yeah, I feel a lot happier.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
A candid, insightful and creative conversation full of hope, inspiration and the excitement of a new beginning in the world of art.
A huge thank you to Nitin Ganatra OBE for sharing his story with us.
You can head to our socials to see when I attended Nitin's art exhibition in London, where he was surrounded by a room full of people admiring his work.
And across our social media, we have shared interview snippets for you to revisit whenever you need some words of wisdom and some behind the scenes clips of bringing this podcast to you.
We are grateful to the Queen Elizabeth II Commonwealth Trust for championing our aim of inspiring the next generation of creatives. Thank you to the Bourbon UK for allowing us to film in their space, and thank you to all of our guests for joining us.
We hope that you will continue to revisit the episodes whenever you need inspiration.
And we hope you'll keep in touch with us on social media as we continue our publication journey to inspire as many people as possible. From my brilliant friend Rakesh Chauhan.
And from my awesome friend Anila Dami, thank you so much for listening, sharing and being part of this journey with us.